Hi everyone. So we are going to talk about today energetic boundaries and energy alignment. So this is a question that was asked in the group, and so I want to cover off my thoughts on this. So I'd actually originally posted, because I'm doing a in-person event. I'm speaking at a festival for women entrepreneurs in a couple of weeks. So I'd asked the question to help me to shape that talk, but I thought not all of you are coming to that, and some of you are other side of the world, so I'm going to go live and talk about this anyway and answer the question that was asked by the lovely Alex in the group. So the question was, what do we do when we're feeling in a low mood, and making sure we don't pass that on to our clients? And how do we make sure that we are not picking up energy from clients? So this was a great question. So thank you, Alex, for asking this question. So this comes down to a few things. And the main thing that really we need to cover off is energetic boundaries. So where do we start with this? I haven't really planned this. I'm just going to see what comes through here, and if anyone joins, if anyone has any questions. If you have any questions and you're watching the replay, pop your questions in and I will come back to those. So before I share any of this stuff, if you have not got your ticket yet for Quantum Queen, I'm so excited about it, not only for the workshop itself, but for the people that I've got in the workshop. Such an incredible group that I am so excited, I can't even talk. So excited to be working with. So I'll pop the link in here. If you haven't yet got your ticket, they start from just £44 to come along. I am so excited. We're going to be talking about the science of self-love, the quantum field, shadow work, all things quantum and energy alignment to hold that expansive space for you to be your most abundant, authentic, flourishing self. So yeah, that's next Thursday at 2 p.m. BST, and the link is in here if you'd like to join us. Okay, so energetic boundaries. So let's talk about, so there's an element of emotional intelligence in this, right? So in Alex's question, so we all have moods. Am I right in saying that? We have high moods, we have low moods, we experience a range of different emotions throughout our days, throughout our weeks, throughout our months. You know, monthly that can make a difference as well. And part of being human is part of having these emotions and allowing them to be. So the first thing that is coming through for me with this question is allowing space for perceived negative emotions to be present. Okay, and we can do this through mindfulness practices, and we can do this through somatic practices. So if we allow space for those emotions to come out and through our bodies, we actually really shortcut that process, because the more we say we shouldn't have that emotion, or we can't feel like that, or whatever that should is for you. For a lot of us, in particular, things like anger. Let's look at that. Anger, being a shadow within us, is the main cause of people pleasing. I'm going to say that again. Anger, being a suppressed shadow in us, is what causes people pleasing. So because in childhood we were maybe told, oh, good girls aren't angry, good girls don't do this, good girls don't do that, we've pushed that anger shadow down, and we've chosen connection over anger, because that's what our life, is about, is that, getting that love, getting that affection from our parents. So we effectively choose love over being angry when we're told that we mustn't be angry, or someone has a reaction to our anger. Okay. So we need to give space for those emotions to be there. We need to give space for them to release, and we need to give space for our nervous systems to regulate, firstly. So if we give space for them, so like, for example, sometimes I will give myself 10 minutes in the morning to do an anger release practice, write some stuff out. I sometimes get a baseball bat and hit some pillows, or do some breath work to release. then we have given those emotions some space to come out. So we have given space for them and allowed space for them to clear through. So that's the first thing that came up for me. It was like, okay, well, let's give an opportunity to allow those things to be there and have an outlet. So this is why I do my meditation and releasing any shadow work, any somatic practices in the morning as part of my morning routine, so that anything that has come up is cleared for me to then move into my day, for me to move into sessions with clients. And for so many of us that are recovering people pleasers, or we just care, we're just filled with love for our clients, and we want to put them first. This comes back to that whole like cup full first thing, doesn't it? So when we have that incredible morning routine and space for somatic practices and anger release, we can move into that day with so much more flow. And yes, things will come up, and we have the highs, we have the lows, but starting our day with that practice will really help. So firstly, giving space and allowing for somatic release of the perceived negative emotions really, really helps. So they don't kind of creep up on us, or we're not triggered, and that can really help firstly. And then the other thing I will say is, when you are focused on being of service, being in that energy of how can I be of service today? How can I help this client today? How can I hold this expansive space for both of us today? If you're in the energy of being of service, and therefore you're in your heart, that's going to shift that energy anyway. So by being able to step back from what you're feeling and just be of service, that will open your heart, and it will allow you to just be, and to be able to hold that space. So just like trying to sort out my thoughts as I'm thinking, as I'm saying them. So that's kind of that way round. So like your negative emotions affecting someone else, and then the other way round, picking up energy, picking up emotions. So the first thing I want to say here on this, and this is coming through loud and clear, is if we are sensitive, which if most of you here watching this video, you are, some of you are, in your design types have, penetrating auras, so you are picking up everything everyone is feeling, or you might be highly sensitive or neurodivergent, or in particular if you've got Gene Key 19 in your Gene Keys profile, you are sensitive, and on a neurological, biological level, you simply have more sensory processing receptors in your brain. So you are going to feel everything. You are going to feel the collective. You are going to feel what your client is feeling. And it's about transforming that empathy, that deep gift of empathy, of sensitivity. It's about transforming that into the gift side rather than the shadow side. Okay. And this was me for a long time. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't work with like X number of clients a week, or this client's making me feel this, or why can't I keep up with everyone else? And I used to really be in victim mode with this, like, oh, here we go again, picked up some energy. And we want to understand that shadow. We want to understand that. So there's some shadow work to be done there anyway around feeling like a victim. Where am I, in the words of Existential Kink, where am I getting off on being that victim? Like, why does that feel good? Okay, so we want to look at that. Why does that feel good? Why does that benefit me? How does that serve me in some way? And I want you to go really into this as if it was like a kink. Why does that feel like so pleasurable, so good to be in that stage? So drop a 1 in comments. Let me know if this resonates for you. If you have, if you've ever been in this place where you're like, oh, I'm not feeling this. Oh, I'm not feeling this. Like, why am I feeling these things? Pop a 1 in comments if this resonates with you. Like, oh, now I'm feeling this. Now I'm feeling this client. Now I'm feeling this client. It used to be, for me, going out to busy places as well. Like, oh, like, why am I now feeling this? On some level, you desire that. So you're getting off on that in some way. Perhaps, being in victim mode, someone is coming to rescue you. Or perhaps you're being your own knight in shining armour and you're rescuing yourself. Or for me, when I was in this stage, when I had like my first awakening, it was like, oh, I can get therapy because I've got something wrong with me, or I can drink wine, or I can eat chocolate, or I can get a takeaway tonight to treat myself because I'm feeling really rubbish. So there are always desires there, okay? So you want to look at firstly that desire and doing shadow work on the wounds of why we might desire to pick up that energy firstly, because if that wound is there, then we're going to be picking up that energy, okay? And then we need to have energetic boundaries. So this is about being okay with complete and utter surrender and detachment from outcome. So I had a situation with a client in the past where something shifted for them from our initial discovery session, our initial working together. Something shifted in that process and they became out of alignment for me. And not only were they not willing to actually do the work or be coached or take any actions, I had issues with their payments defaulting as well, and it started to become, and they started to continually push my boundaries as well. And it started to become very, very draining for me. And I had to look at that. I had to look at, why do I desire that? What is that showing me inside of me? Why am I feeling this? And again, that was all tied up in that there were still elements of that victim consciousness that I needed to transmute, which was around, feeling like this client very much felt like a victim to the world and was kind of coming to me like, I need you to fix this, but not willing to fix it themselves. So I had to have really strong energetic boundaries and detach from the outcome of this is almost like a we can almost have like anxious avoidant relationships with our clients as well as our romantic relationships, okay? So pop a 2 in comments if this resonates. So we can almost have this like I'm just going to check actually, because I'm just checking that the comments are actually coming through on the laptop. Yeah, so we can have this kind of like anxious avoidant attachment with our clients. So for me, this used to be anxious attachment. So it would be like, are they, on the sales call, like so desperate to, yes, I am live in the group. That's good. So desperate to sign that client. Okay, so I wasn't detached from the outcome. I was anxious. Instead of just surrendering and being like, right, if it's meant to be, if this client's meant to work with me, they will. And that's where I had to get to. So firstly, on those, like in that initial, not being like needy or grabby about like, I need them to say yes, but just being completely detached from the outcome and just trusting the process in that if it feels in alignment, this will happen. And I've gone off topic completely. What was I saying? Yes, so the anxious avoidant attachment. And this, this can this can continue. So I've had clients in the past where I felt like, oh, are they going to leave? Are they going to pay? And I have had that happen. I've had clients not pay. I've had clients payments default, and I've had to work through those patterns. They're very much like abandonment patterns. It's like being in a relationship. So we need to look at that and be detached from the outcome. If we are detached from the outcome, then we can keep our boundaries up. So this is something we need to look at, as if time and time again we are not keeping our boundaries up for a reason, usually it is because we are attached to the outcome. Okay, so if someone repeatedly continues to push my boundaries and I have to let that client go and let their payments go, then I have a detachment for the outcome, and I trust that that is meant to be, and freeing that up, that energetic space, will allow something else to come in. So different things that I do. So we want to pre-plan these energetic boundaries as well. So a few things that I do is, I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. I don't forget my tea. Okay, so I have structures and strategies in place to help around the energy management of working with clients, as well as my own emotional intelligence. So one is I only do calls certain days of the week. So I set those boundaries in place. My Calendly is set in place to book those calls on those days of the week. I have those boundaries with myself in the morning. I don't look at my phone or social media until I've done my morning routine, my meditation, my journaling, my movement. And I have set up my application process. In fact, I'm adding a new question to my application process as well, as a result of learning from experiences of working with some clients that aren't as aligned. I've used that as part of my learning and part of my journey, and I've got a 3 in my human design, so I'm meant to have those lessons and then be able to share those lessons with others, which is what I'm doing here now. So I'm adding another question to my application call process, so that if the answers to those questions in that application on Calendly, when they're booking that into my diary, if that is not in alignment and anything in their flags as me is not in alignment, then I will cancel that call. So it's about pre-planning those boundaries ahead of time, where you work, the way you work, and also planning your time around client calls as well. And this I found is so important when we're sensitive, is knowing our limits. So like I know, and what we can do is we can treat energy as data, energetic data over time. I love this phrase, like using energy data. So what we can do is we can look back over time and go, okay, what days did I feel really energized? What time of the month was that? How many calls can I do in a day? How many clients can I fit in a day? And how have I felt over time? And perhaps, certain times in the month you might be able to do 2 client calls a day. In the middle of the month you might be able to do 4 client calls a day, okay? So only you will know the answer to that. So it's looking back across that energetic data and going, okay, how did I feel? What happened? And obviously if you're journaling every day, you're capturing this information so you can look back. So yeah, so you can then set those boundaries in place going forwards. Right, so now I know this, I can set this many slots on this day, and sticking to those and sticking to your boundaries, because we all know cup full first, right? But if we are truly nourished and our needs are being taken care of, the way that we can hold space for our clients is just so much more potent and powerful. And also accounting for other things as well. So this week, again, this week has been a bit of a lesson for me, so I'll share that lesson with you as well. We've had builders in doing some work on the house this week. I had a doctor's appointment this week, and And I've had some kind of a few like admin issues going on this week, system issues. I've had internet issues this week as well, because the guys had to unplug the router, so I didn't have internet as well. And I think in hindsight, I would have preferred to have done less calls this week. So it's just worth looking back and going, okay, how did I feel? And what do I need to feel at my best? It's literally just listening to our bodies. How did my body feel this week? Oh, and it was also the full moon this week, super moon. Like, who felt this crazy intense energy this week? So sometimes it's the full moon. We've got appointments, we've got work going on in our homes, and we just need to just stop to consider, what is it that I really need to be that really nourished person, to be able to hold that space for others. Okay. And then the other thing I want to mention here is, because my initial request was about energy alignment and positive psychology. This is what I'm talking about on stage in a couple of weeks as well. So positive psychology can help us here immensely, and this is why I'm so excited. When I learnt this stuff, it was central London over the summer, and I felt the calmest I have ever felt, ever in my whole life, and the happiest I'd ever felt in my whole life, by learning the tools of positive psychology. I can remember crying on the first day of the course and being like, why has nobody told me up until now that positive emotion can change my brain? We're not just being happy because it feels good to be happy and joyful. We're actually changing our brain. Why has nobody told me this before? And I was crying, and it was just this realization of life can be really different from now on. Life can be really different. If I can be this sensitive and be in the middle of London and feel this amazing, yeah, something different is happening now. And that was the moment that everything changed for me. So the reason that positive psychology can help in this scenario around energetic boundaries, the main thing is, if we are sensitive and we have more sensory receptors in the brain, our fight or flight mechanism is much more likely to get switched on. I can think of the word. To get switched on. I need more tea. Okay, so because we've basically got more sensory receptors, imagine these are sensory receptors in the brain. If our client is feeling a certain emotion, we might feel that emotion. We've got something else going on. We've got something going on for us at home. If you think about it, all these sensory receptors are getting ping, 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 switch on. For someone who's not sensitive, not going to pick up the emotions in the same way, okay? So this is what is therefore then triggering that fight or flight response. Positive psychology shows when we flood the brain with positive emotion, we activate the prefrontal cortex, we activate the areas responsible for problem solving, creativity, memory, all of the good, amazing things that we need to run our businesses. We activate all of those areas and we shrink that fight or flight response. We literally shrink it down in size. So because we're shrinking it down in size, it becomes less reactive. So we build positive resilience. So what I showed in my research study I did in 2016 was that positive psychology, if used every day, a little bit. So, my example of this was 3 gratitudes every day was one of the activities that those in my group did. Every day for 21 days builds a new pathway in the brain, builds a new brain habit. And then, no matter what life throws at us, we are resilient, we are strong, we can deal with life's challenges if we have got those positive psychology habits in place. So one of the biggest things we can do, and there is a crossover here with heart coherence as well. So we come into the mindfulness space, the kindfulness space, and obviously loving kindness, metta, which is the Buddhist word for it, and heart coherence. So there is a crossover here. So I created an activation a couple of weeks ago for my quantum alignment group, where we are going into the heart to spread that heart coherence through the body, to then attract an abundance, because it's all the same energy. So there's a crossover here with the quantum field, love consciousness, positive psychology, and the energy piece. So positive psychology not only helps on that neuroscientific level, which is what I studied in 2014, but it helps us from a consciousness level as well, because of those high vibrational emotions and bringing in the heart coherence. Hope that makes sense. Any questions, let me know. Pop a 3 in comments if this is resonating. Just so I know that this is hitting the mark of answering the question. Okay, so having those positive habits in place is building the resilience that we need so that our fight or flight center is much less likely to be activated. So this is kind of where my PEMS model, which I'm going to go more into next Thursday in Quantum Queen. I'm going to talk about how those elements of that model all come together and work with the quantum. So do get a spot on that if you haven't already, because I'm going to go deeper into this. But the PEMS model basically is positive psychology, energy, mindfulness, and shadow work. So if we bring all of these aspects in together with working with the quantum field, then we can be more resilient, and we can set energetic boundaries. And yes, we're still going to feel stuff, we're going to have that deep empathy, and that is our gift. But again, we're more likely to see it as a gift because our fight or flight center isn't activated. Because if our fight or flight center is more activated, we're very quickly going to go into that spiral of victim mode, or it's happening to me instead of it's happening for me. So I'm feeling what you're feeling, so I'm coaching you, I'm feeling what you're feeling, because that's my clairsentience, and I'm feeling that because I now know what it is that you need. I now know what you're feeling, so I can be of service to you knowing that information, which actually leads me on to, like my last point, I keep saying last point, it will be, which is having boundaries with our clairsentience, okay? Yes, it's really important to share. So just because we are feeling something does not mean it is our responsibility to do anything with it. So I receive information all the time about everyone in my life and the collective and my clients. Obviously, with the divine partnership that I have with Coral, I will always ask her permission if there is some wisdom coming through for me to share with her. But we have contracted to help each other, like soul contracted to help each other. So in that scenario, I can share that clairsentience and what is coming through, and vice versa. With my paid clients, they are paying me for my experience and for my insights and for my intuitive coaching. So there's an energy exchange there with those clients. So being able to, receive that information and do something with it. For those who are in our lives, usually those that we love and we want to fix and we want to help them, we need to be really discerning about using our gifts, because if we're using our gifts like all over the place, we're not then channeling our gifts where they are welcomed, where we are being paid for them, where there is an energetic exchange in some way. So just a little side point to the energetic boundaries, like with clients, we also need to have energetic boundaries with other people, so we can channel that into actually helping people where there is that energetic exchange. That is really, really important. So this is a call to consider where you might be over giving or undercharging, like where is there a bit of an energetic imbalance or mismatch as well. So in summary, in answer to the question, hopefully I've answered this question, Alex, if you're watching, how to have better energetic boundaries with yourself and clients. So firstly, somatic practices, allowing yourself the time and the somatic practice and anger release and all of those things, building that into your morning routine. You might not need to do it every day, but if you can create some space for it, that will really, really help. Second thing was about having energetic boundaries. So firstly, knowing and accepting and staying in that gift side of my sensitivities are my superpowers. They are my gifts. They're here for me to use. And having those boundaries around structures, routines, using that energetic data, looking back and going, okay, what worked, what didn't, what do I need, what do I now build in next week, what do I now build in next month, what would really make me feel good, what would make me feel really amazing, like what would that look like? Okay, let's just hold some space for that right now. What would amazing look like right now for you? What would that feel like? Can you feel that in your body? Can you just turn that dial up on feeling really amazing? Okay, and what would it take for you next month to feel 10% more amazing than you felt last month? Because we're now 1st September today, aren't we? So yeah, how did you feel in August? How do you turn that dial up on pleasure for September so that you feel really, really good? Okay, and then that's where positive psychology practices can help, obviously getting us into that high vibrational emotion and closing down that fight or flight response. And finally, energetic boundaries. I was trying to remember what things I talked about. Energetic boundaries, where there is not an energy exchange or where there is not permission. Okay, something we need to review. So I hope this answers the question. Thank you for the amazing question, Alex. And any questions at all, just let me know. And do not forget to get your spots on Quantum Queen next Thursday, 2 p.m. BST. We've got an incredible group already signed up. I cannot wait to hold space for you. Lots of love.